Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to thank and pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hi everyone, and welcome to Room by Room, the Home Organization Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element, with expert knowledge from professionals in the field. I'm your host, Gabriella Joustra, coming to you from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Gabriella and I'm here today with Krystee Robinson, a professional organizer. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm pretty good, yeah. So today we're going to be talking about kitchen organization. But before we get started, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So thank you so much for having me. My name is Krystee. I'm a professional organizer. I'm based out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So we're kind of in the Rocky Mountains and we've got beautiful Banff. A lot of people around the world are familiar with Banff, Alberta, or the Calgary Stampede. I'm mom to two children. We've got a really old dog. I'm married to a fellow entrepreneur. And essentially what I do is I provide in-home organization. So I go into homes and I organize pantries and mudrooms and garages and closets and bathrooms and just all the good stuff. The main premise is we just want to create practical, functional systems so our clients can just focus on the more important things in life and not having to find things.
Great. So we'll start off with a little section we like to call Have You Met Krystee? So it's basically, we'll ask you the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask about these things. So the first one is a book, like a favorite book or one you're reading at the moment.
I think my favorite book that I've read recently is The Nightingale.
What's that about?
It's about women in World War II. It's just enthralling. It's a thicker book, but it's definitely one worth reading. It was just a page turner. It was just so good.
What about a movie?
Movie.
Like a favorite movie?
Favorite movie. I don't really have a favorite movie. I've got favorite shows. I have a favorite TV show. My favorite TV show is Friends.
Yep, I think that's a lot of people's favorites. I've actually never sat down and properly watched it.
Oh my gosh. No, it's a good one. I still laugh at it and I've watched it. I mean, I don't know how many times, so it's a good one.
Do you have a favorite podcast?
Yes, I really like the Minimalists. They have a fantastic podcast. They're really focusing in on the core of living a minimalist life, and that's not putting the value of a specific memory into an item. Especially with what I do in my profession, there's so many people that are having a hard time letting go and clearing out the clutter and just hanging on to too much stuff. And a lot of times it's because they have a memory with it, or maybe they're hanging on to a particular toy of their children because their brother gave it to them. And they're like, well, I feel bad. My brother knows it. And the Minimalists podcast really just kind of hones into the psychological and the mental and stresses and the things like that of what stuff can really do in your home. So they're just really impactful. They have a really good perspective.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of it, but I need to get around to listening to it. I've just got so many podcasts that I actually listen to.
I can imagine, especially doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Do you have a role model that you really look up to?
Yes, I really look up to Sarah Blakely and Jesse Itzler. Sarah Blakely is the owner and founder and inventor of Spanx. And she's just really has a ton of motivational drive. And she ended up marrying Jesse Itzler. And they had met later on in life. And Jesse Itzler, both of them are self-made. I think they're both billionaires by now, but their perspective on life is just, say yes and figure out how you're going to make it happen in the back end. And especially when it comes to business and just life as an entrepreneur, they just have really great fundamentals and teaching on pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, because that's where you get a lot of your growth, and pushing yourself through that fear. So I'm very motivated by the two of them. They're very inspirational.
And is there a course that you've completed recently?
I have not taken any courses as of recently. I took a ton at the beginning of the pandemic. Did you?
No, I didn't.
No? I was like, I need to do something. So I needed to educate myself and push myself. So I took a lot of courses at the beginning of the pandemic. But in regards to courses, I actually teach a course, myself and a fellow professional organizer out of the United States. We teach a course called Organizers Connect, and it's mentorship. So we teach people on how to start a business and how to start a career as a professional organizer. So I guess I'm not necessarily taking courses myself lately. I've been more teaching the courses, but I enjoy it. So I don't know if that counts.
I think that still counts.
Okay. We'll take it.
So now we'll move on to the interview questions.
Perfect.
Well, I guess we'll get started with what is kitchen organization?
Just in a nutshell, I mean, at the end of the day, the kitchen is the heart of the home. And a lot of times we do organize a ton of kitchens just naturally, kitchens and pantries essentially, because again, we're helping so many busy households, so many busy homes, and you want to be able to find your spatula. You want to be able to find your pots and pans. You want to be able to, maybe we're all starting to host a little bit. Well, here in Canada, we're starting to host a little bit more, and we're starting to have people come back in our homes. So, you want to be able to know where your platters are and grabbing something and not having 5 other things topple upon you. So kitchen organization is just creating a functional space. And we want to have our plates near our dishwasher, our utensils by our dishwasher, because that creates, okay, well, I'm going to empty my dishwasher. Do I want to walk across my kitchen and walk 10, 15 feet just to put a plate away? No, it doesn't make sense. Do you need to be utilizing prime real estate within your kitchen of having like 3 junk drawers? No, you don't. Maybe we can allocate one of those drawers as a spice drawer. So we really just come in and we just purge every single item in the area, and we just make it into a better flow and a better functionality. And then it just creates that system where you're not pulling out a bowl and then 6 bowls fall out after.
I've definitely had that happen to me.
Yeah.
What about some misconceptions about kitchen organization?
I think not necessarily a misconception, but I think overall, a lot of people just have too much stuff. You don't need 3 can openers unless you're a professional chef and you've got multiple hands in the kitchen. You've got sous chef. You need 1. That's my recommendation. You just need 1 can opener. And you don't need, I think the biggest one that I find is multiple sets of measuring cups. You just need 1 set of measuring cups. You don't need to have stainless steel ones plus plastic ones plus gold, bronze ones. Like, just pick one, pick your favorite, and then donate the other ones, because they're all going to measure exactly the same. So it's just reflecting upon your space and going, okay, do I actually use these Christmas platters? Do I use this cookie cutter set, right? And it's just little things like that. So if we can go through the items and we can purge it, then we've got a little bit more real estate and a little bit more space to be able to optimize and organize everything else.
So you were saying that you want to create space for the things you actually need. So what things do you need in a kitchen?
It completely depends on every single home. Every single home is completely different in terms of actual items that you need. I feel like a chef or, maybe a professional cook or a food blogger might be able to give you a little bit better of a breakdown as the specific individual items that you need. But we always just kind of organize it based on each individual home. I mean, we've been in homes where they don't even have a single baking sheet because they just don't use it. And then we've been in homes where we are dedicating a full-size cupboard strictly to muffin tins and mini muffin tins and cake pans and baking sheets, cookie sheets, brownie pans, right? So it just depends. Everybody's completely different.
Do you ever have to help people decide what they do need, and then, like, what steps do you go through for that?
Yeah, we usually coach them through the purging process. So it's figuring out what needs to be donated and what are we actually using within the home. So we do coach them through, like I said, do you need 5 sets of measuring cups and things like that. So we definitely try to coach them through it. I think for the most part, typically what happens is when we are hired, the majority of our clients are ready and they're in that space where they're ready to get rid of items. Sorry. Anyway, so there's a lot of times where we come in and they're like, you know what? I think I only need 2 vases. I don't need 6 vases. So a lot of times that's something to reflect too, because you've got to think of how much space each item takes. So for the most part, the majority of my clients, knock on wood, are ready to purge and they're happy that we're there and they're like, okay, good. Okay, can you take these things? Can you take these things? On the occasion, we do have to kind of guide our clients and we have to coach them through, okay, we don't need 10 mixing bowls, things like that.
How does kitchen organization impact the home environment?
It's the hub of the home. If you can't find what you need quickly and easily, or you get frustrated because that, perfect example is, that potato masher. A lot of people like to organize those in drawers, but if your drawer is so packed, how many times is that potato masher jam that drawer and then you can't get it open and you're ready to mash your potatoes and maybe your 2-year-old is like, "Mommy, I'm hungry. When's dinner?" or whatever it might be, right? And then that can compound and add stress to your daily life. Simple things as solution for children. Are they able to get their lunch kits easily? Are they able to get the spoon and the knife that they need to be able to have their yogurt while they're at school? So we want to create systems so then that way, if you have a 7-year-old or a 12-year-old, we want to be able to give them the ability and the tools so that they know exactly where their lunch kit is, where their ice pack is to go in the lunch kit, where the containers are and the utensils and things like that. So then that way we're not utilizing so much time trying to find the lid to the bottom of the Tupperware container. If we create those organizational systems, then you're like, oh, here's the lid and here's the bottom. And see how much easier that is? And then it doesn't create that mental clutter. Get you out the door a whole lot faster.
I definitely have that issue at home where I've got all my plastic boxes in one place, but then I've got like 10 different lids and they all look the same and none of them match.
None of them match. Yeah. You have to spend 5 minutes. I'll give you a challenge, Gabriella. So you spend 5 minutes, take them all out, put all the lids on, and then the ones that don't match, get rid of them. And I promise your life will be so much easier.
Yep. Except I reuse those lids for different things.
Oh, do you? Like painting?
Yeah, I use them for painting, except you don't need 20 for that. You just need one.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So when you're sort of starting to look at organizing someone's kitchen, where do you start?
We don't usually have a focal point in which we start. Honestly, we just kind of dive right in. If I'm coaching or letting, just even on Instagram followers or anyone, what I usually say is if you want to organize your own space, my recommendation is start with one drawer. Start with your junk drawer. I mean, a lot of people have more than one junk drawer, but start with one drawer. It's a very small space. You can typically organize a junk drawer in 15, 20 minutes. It gives you instant gratification. And it's very impactful because a lot of times you've got cords and papers and receipts and erasers and hair elastics, USB chargers. There's a whole lot of stuff that usually ends up getting dumped into the junk drawer. And then it's not so overwhelming. And it's just taking that little snippet and a little bite at a time. So maybe start with the junk drawer. Or maybe you've got more than one and see if you can combine them and put all the junk drawers into one drawer. And then maybe the next day you tackle your Tupperware or little things like that. So it's just little nuggets, right? So it's less overwhelming and then it's satisfying because you're like, ooh, I organized my Tupperware drawer. Like, look how good it looks. But myself and my team, we just kind of bulldoze. We just go right in. I mean, I'm over here and my team's over, we just kind of, it becomes instant mess before it gets better. So we just kind of get in and we just start getting right in there. So
do you have a specific way that you set up a drawer, for example, like the junk drawer?
It depends on what you're putting. If you're doing a junk drawer, my recommendation is that what definitely helps with the junk drawer is if you get drawer dividers or drawer inserts. So they're just like little plastic pockets. You can get bamboo ones, or you can get a clear acrylic, whatever your personal style is. You can go to the dollar store. Dollar store usually has them. And then honestly, if you just take a bunch of little pieces and you just play Tetris. So you completely empty the drawer and then take all the drawer organizers and then play Tetris and see what fits best and utilizes the drawer to its maximum capacity. And then you're going to take your key items. Okay, what am I going to use often? Okay, I use my pens. Maybe we have a notepad section. Maybe you have a little tech area where you put little USB cords, and just create those little nooks and crannies. And again, it depends on the household. I mean, some homes in their junk drawer, they need to have a little brush and hair elastics to do their children's hair in the morning before they go to school because they do their hair while they're eating their Cheerios. So it depends on the functionality and who's in the home and who's using the space. But for a junk drawer, I definitely recommend the little individual drawer inserts because then that way you can categorize. And then you can keep within the categories. Okay, this is where my pens go. This is where the notebooks go. This is where my paper clips go. If you use paper clips, not a lot of people do. But you can create those categories and then it's easier to maintain the system long term.
And how do you make sure that everyone in the family implements this?
Yeah, that's a hard thing. So again, depends on the ages within the family. So we as Sparx Organizing, we go in and everything that we organize, we label. So everything is labeled, whether we're doing a pantry and we're saying this is where the crackers go, this is where the snacks go. If we do a playroom, we customize the labels based on the ages of the children. So it depends if you've got maybe a 3-year-old and maybe an 8-year-old that live at the house. Your 8-year-old's going to be able to read, but the 3-year-old, not so much. Maybe they're starting to learn their letter O's and stuff like that. So then what we'll do is we'll do a picture system. So we'll do a picture of car and then we'll write the word cars beside it. So then that way we're doing the early learning literacy of the 8-year-old, but then we're also teaching the 3-year-old, this is where the toy cars go. They go in this bin, in this basket. One thing that I do say to my clients a lot of times too is when you've got multiple people in the home is, you usually have one person that kind of has to be annoying. You have to say, no, that's not where the backpack goes. No, that's not where the shoes go. That's not where the toques go. Toques, that's a very Canadian term, isn't it?
I don't know what that is.
A toque is a, like a
beanie?
Hat. A winter hat.
A beanie?
A beanie, well, a beanie doesn't cover your ears.
Doesn't it?
No.
Maybe here it does.
Oh, does it? Okay, here a beanie's usually worn above the ears. So it covers your ears. So it's like a winter hat to protect you from the snow. Anyway, but that's the thing is like you usually have to practice these daily rituals in order to maintain organization. I do recommend every single day. Sorry, my dog's drinking water beside me. If you can hear him, I do apologize.
That's okay. He's got to do what he's got to do.
But I do recommend is, start with daily tasks. So maybe set a 5-minute timer just before you're ready to go up to bed. Set a 5-minute timer and just see what items are not placed in their home. So are the cars in the car basket? Is your mail where your mail is supposed to go? Have you put away all of the recycling? Are your shoes on the shoe rack? Are your coats hung? Just little things like that, because life can be messy and it can be chaotic. But if you set a 5-minute timer just before you go to bed, go through the house and put things back where they belong. And then when you wake up the next day, you're waking up to a fresh new start. You're not waking up to all this clutter. You're not waking up and you're not tripping over shoes when you're trying to leave the house in a hurry or whatever it might happen, right? So if you're creating those little habits to maintain an organized home, then it just becomes natural, and it just becomes habit for you to be able to create those little systems. And then your future self will like yourself because everything's where it's supposed to be. You know where the tools are, just little things like that.
So in my kitchen,
Yeah.
we have all the pots and pans, all in one cupboard, all stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
But like always having to lift and pull things out and knock things over. Do you have any like tips for that?
Well, where are the pots and pans? Where in your kitchen? Are they in a drawer or in a cupboard?
They're in a cupboard on 2 shelves.
Okay. Is it a deep cupboard?
It's pretty deep, yeah.
Okay. What do you have behind the pots and pans? Or do you just have more pots and pans?
Just the top shelf has got bowls,
Okay.
like mixing bowls. The
Yes.
bottom shelf is just basically a wok.
Oh, that's not too bad then. Again, it depends on the space. Sometimes if you're limited on space, we do have to stack them within each other. What I do recommend is for the actual lids, because I find a lot of times it's usually the lids that are kind of sliding around and they get kind of slick. And then they're kind of, they're weird, right? We could usually stack frying pans within each other. We can stack pots and pans with each other. And, we can create, and they take up more vertical space than actual cupboard space. With the lids, my recommendation is try to get a lid organizer. Eucopia makes a really good brand. Again, I'm not too familiar with what brands you guys will be able to find in Australia. But picture it kind of like a little rack with some wires in it, and you can stack the lids so then they're in vertical. And then that way they're not toppling over each other, and you can stack the lids from small to large, and then you could just grab them and go. So it's very easy to pick and grab them. Yeah, we usually implement that into a lot of homes. But again, it depends on the space. Yeah.
And you were talking earlier as well about putting the dishes next to the washing machine. Do you have any like other suggestions or tips for like where you should put dishes and cups and that type of thing?
So we usually like to put the cutlery by the dishwasher. We try to put the plates, bowls, frequently used like items like that by the dishwasher. Glasses as well. Mugs can be a little bit more of a walk because we're not usually unloading as many mugs as we are usually unloading glasses. I like to recommend that, again, depending on the household and how people use their kitchen, we like to put garbage bags underneath the kitchen sink, as well as everyday cleaners, and then any types of, dishwasher soaps and everything like that, because naturally that's right beside the dishwasher. And then it depends on little things like spices and pots and pans and cutting boards and baking sheets, and then Christmas platters and things like that. I think my number one go-to in regards to any types of large platters, entertaining platters, or, sometimes we've got those charcuterie wooden boards. So many people like to make a charcuterie board out of, but maybe we're using that big, giant, hefty piece of wood cutting board maybe 3 times a year. That's not in a place where we want to have prime real estate. So my recommendation is if you have the cupboards above your fridge, pop those in there. platters, anything like that. Maybe you've got Christmas tins. You know, people like to make Christmas tins and they like to do Christmas cookie exchanges.
No,
You guys
haven't
don't
heard
have
of
Christmas
that.
tins? Okay, okay. Maybe it's a Canadian thing. So we do a lot of Christmas tins, and they'll have like Christmas patterns or like, you know, snowflakes or Christmas trees or
Oh,
Santa or what have you on them. And then a lot of people like to make homemade baked goods, and they'll put like tissue in it, and then they'll make the baked goods and they'll give it to a gift for their neighbor or things
yes,
like
I
that.
have.
And honestly, I find those Christmas tins in probably 90% of our clients' homes. But a lot of times we find those Christmas tins and they're down low and they're in reachable space. And I call that prime real estate. We don't want Christmas tins in prime real estate in the kitchen. So if I can put those in a cabinet above the fridge or a higher up cabinet where it's really up high, where you need to get on a step stool or maybe you need to climb onto a chair to get into, we put it there because we're not touching those Christmas tins 11 months out of the year. We're touching them once. So I don't want those taking up prime real estate in your kitchen, right? So it's little things like that, right? If we can do that. That's the same thing like with your turkey roasting pan. How often a year do you cook a turkey?
I've never cooked a turkey.
Okay, well, the average household is twice, Thanksgiving and Christmas,
Mm, yeah.
right? I don't want that down low. We want to put that somewhere else where it's not, again, taking up prime real estate. So little things like that, right? We can reallocate those items so then that way we are optimizing the space of your kitchen.
Just a question. This is just a random question.
Go for it.
What's the difference between a turkey tray and like every other tray?
So a turkey roaster is usually quite deep. It's quite large.
Mm-hmm.
So they are quite large. And then they're quite deep. Like it's usually like a deeper than a brownie tray.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them have like a roasting rack that goes within it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole, and they're usually heavy duty and they're quite big. So you can fit a whole turkey in that bad boy. Because
Okay.
usually like a muffin tray, or not a muffin, I want to say like a brownie tray is still large, but it's not quite as deep and it's not usually quite as sturdy, right? Because the turkeys, turkeys got some weight to them.
Mm.
Yeah. And then a lot of them have handles. So if you were cooking a 15-pound turkey, you got a handle. You could take two handles on the side, you could take that out. So it's a little bit, I don't know, turkey
I
tray.
was just I was just wondering. I mean, I've got roasting trays for roasting potatoes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I use that, twice a week, so I'm not going to be putting that away.
No. Yeah.
I was just
That.
wondering if there was a specific difference.
Yeah. Usually they're quite large.
Okay, okay.
The majority of homes
Um,
here have them.
mm,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
What about like appliances? How do you like? I have a stand mixer, or like we've got a coffee machine, but we've only got a very small amount of bench space. How do you recommend storing those?
Now, when you say bench space, you mean countertop space?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
where you do the cutting and stuff.
Yeah. A lot of times I try to utilize a walk-in pantry. So if we
Hmm.
can utilize maybe some lower shelves on the walk-in pantry, and we could put like the air fryer or the Instapot or exactly the same thing, the KitchenAid. The KitchenAid tends to be a little bit more of a trickier appliance because it's quite heavy. So we have to be more cognizant of the weight of it and where we're placing it. We don't want to put it in the back of a bottom cupboard because that's going to be quite tricky to be able to get out because of the weight of the mixer. Um, so we do try to allocate as many small appliances that we can. And then also it depends on the home and the use. I mean, if you're using your air fryer every single day, I want to place that in somewhere in a cupboard or in your pantry that's easily and readily accessible so you can grab it very quickly. The majority of coffee makers are left on the countertop. because it's a coffee maker. Unless you've got a butler's pantry. The majority of coffee makers are on the countertop. What kind of coffee maker do you have? Do you do like grinds, or do you have like an espresso with the pods?
So we've got an espresso, but it's like whole beans.
So you
So
gotta
you have
grind
to
it.
grind it first, and then you have to put it in the coffee machine. And it currently lives in we've got a freestanding cupboard, and it lives in there. And when we want to use it, we have to lift it and put it on the bench. And then
Yes.
if you lift it and put it back, you can get coffee over yourself sometimes.
Yes, it's very true. Yes,
Mm.
coffee makers are tricky. They're fickle little appliances. I like to try to find a home for them, and that's where their home is, and then we don't move them.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think I need to rearrange my kitchen. That's why I've got you. I'm talking to you here today.
There you go. Maybe you'll feel inspired.
I'm definitely feeling inspired
Perfect.
to go through my kitchen. Anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to sort of speak about so far?
No, I think in regards to kitchens, you just have to think of how you're using it and who's using it. Um, a lot of clients that we have, they've got, children where they're trying to teach them independence. And maybe they've got some Corelle dishes, or they've got some IKEA plates and bowls, or plastic plates and bowls, and they want to teach their children independence. So they want to be able to have a space that's down low where they can reach it. And then they're able to empty the dishwasher, and they're able to, put their things away. Or maybe if they want a snack, they want to be able to have their children reach for that plastic cup, so then that way they can get a snack of crackers and put the crackers in the plastic cup. So it just depends on the functionality of the home and how many times you're using things. But my biggest recommendation is just reevaluate your cupboards and see what you've got in there. Do you use your champagne flutes? How often are you using your white wine glasses? And we just organized a kitchen a couple weeks ago, and she had these absolutely elegant, Great Gatsby type style glasses, and they were stunning. And she's just like, you know what? I never, ever, ever use them, and they were taking up almost a whole shelf in one of her cupboards. So then I said to her, I said, they're gorgeous. Do you want to sell them, or I can take them to drop them off to donations? And she ended up giving them up because she's like, I haven't used them in probably 10 years. So sometimes it comes down to moments like that where you just have to truly have those conversations with yourself and go, okay, I don't need 10 cutting boards. I probably just need 3. Right. And it's just having those moments of reflection. And I think, especially with kitchens, sometimes we get caught up in little gadgets like an avocado knife. Okay, well, we don't need an avocado knife. Just use a regular knife. It's taking up space. Did you get that zucchini spiraler? You ever seen those? I see that in so many
Yep.
homes where it's you put a zucchini in it and you spin it and it makes zucchini noodles. Well, there are so many people that buy that with a very good intention, thinking I'm going to eat my spaghetti with zucchini noodles, and they use it once. So it's just like, well, that's taking up space in your cupboard and your drawer. So let's donate that. Let's get rid of that. Let's reevaluate that, and let's take that out of your house.
I feel like you just opened my kitchen drawer and saw exactly that.
You have the zucchini spiraler.
And I've used it twice.
Yes.
Yeah. And then my partner said, why would I eat zucchini spaghetti when I could just eat spaghetti?
Yes. Oh, you are not alone, Gabriella. You're not alone. So many people have it. I had it and I had to get rid of it. So I mean, like, it happens. It's
Yep.
okay.
Do you ever have people, that you've helped to organize their kitchen and you've gotten rid of something? Have they ever said to you, I regret getting rid of something?
Well, actually, that's written in my client agreement. So I take donations away with me. And once it leaves that door, it's never coming back. Because I usually drop off donations on my way home. So yes, the odd time you do have the odd person that asks for something, But unfortunately, it's gone. It's gone. It's not coming back unless they want to physically try to drop off and drive to the donations and see if it's still there. It's kind of that. It's once and one and done. But I do recommend for a lot of homes, like, whether you're organizing your kitchen or any other area and you create a donation, get rid of it. Get rid of it right away. Don't let it sit in your trunk for 6 weeks or 3 months or, whatever it might be. And a lot of times, sometimes you kind of end up like, oh, I forgot I put that sweater in there. Maybe I will wear that sweater. And then you take the sweater out again, but then you end up putting it back in your closet and you still don't wear it for 6 months. So sometimes it's, you've made that decision, you've made that commitment to donate and get rid of an item. Make that commitment and just make that short drive and drop it off for donation or sell it or whatever you choose to do with it. But try to stick with it.
I think that's the hardest part.
It is.
So you mentioned before something that you do is 15 minutes a day you go round and you just tidy things up. Is that something that you do every day? Is that, yeah.
So I'll be candid and I'll be very authentic with you. I don't do it every day because some days I don't have energy for it. And I'm just like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm going to wake up to a bomb tomorrow. It's fine. But there are certain things that I do practice is, I encourage my children, they need to pick up their toys before they go to bed. Because I don't want to be picking up their toys before they go to bed. That's their toys. They made the mess. They need to be able to pick it up. Don't get me wrong. I still pick up a lot of stuff. I still step on a lot of Lego. I'm like every other parent. But yes, it's creating those habits because it truly does make a difference. It's as simple as making your bed every day. Think of it as that, right? Like when you make your bed every day, your bedroom looks better, you feel productive, and you're setting your mindset to go, okay, this is going to be a better day. You go into your bathroom, whatever it might be, you come out and you're like, oh, my bed's made. It looks so good. So organization is the same way. We want to create those little daily habits. So then that way we're putting everything back in its home, because there's no point in hiring me and myself and my team coming and spending a whole week organizing your whole entire house and then you not following through with the practices. It's basically money went down the drain. We want you to practice those things that we're teaching you and we're coaching you. So then that way you can maintain it long term. Nobody's perfect. Things are going to happen. But again, it just dies down to those little tiny little habits that you create for yourself and you push yourself to do it. And then you wake up every day and you're like, okay, all right, I know, like, your children know where their backpacks are. They know where the lunch kits are. Even for you packing your own lunch, you know where everything is, right? So you can get out the door a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. So we'll move on to the open mic section, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. So that's, you can talk about anything that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be kitchen organization.
Anything that I'm interested in?
I don't know. Is there something with your
like,
work that you've been doing? Yeah. Do you have a hobby?
Oh, do I have a hobby? Well, I like to read, and then, I like to Netflix and chill every now and again. Mm-hmm. I do like to garden, but I don't like flower gardening. I like vegetable gardening and growing herbs and everything. Like, I'm really into that type of gardening. You give me a flower and I'm going to kill it. You give me a green bean and I'm all over that. So I like to start my seedlings early. And then we have a garden box, and I just get so tickled pink when I grow tomatoes. It's the simple things.
So what kind of vegetables are you growing? You said tomatoes and green beans and...
Yes. So this year what have I got so far for my seedlings? I've got lettuce, beets, zucchini, green beans, yellow beans, carrots. We always grow carrots. There's certain things that just don't grow well in Calgary because we have a very short summer season. So I can't grow cucumbers. We just don't have a long enough season because then the frost starts hitting us. Gosh, I would love to be able to grow cucumbers. And then I grow like some herbs, like some parsley, some dill, some mint, chives, what have you. Do you do any gardening?
I live in an apartment, so we don't really have space for a garden.
You have a
I've got
balcony? You could do those balcony pods.
every once in a while I think about it. And then I'm like, I have to walk down to the hardware store and
Mm.
carry a bag of potting mix back home
Yes.
or catch the tram. And then I'm like, next time I'll do that.
Yeah. No.
Um, what I have is I've got little pots of like succulents and things
Mm.
on the windowsill, and they're pretty successful. A couple of them I've sort of been able to propagate, which is really nice.
Wow.
And then I give them as gifts to people. I'm like,
Oh.
here, have this free pearl plant that I grew for you. Um, the other issue is getting my cat to not eat them.
Oh, yeah.
Um, he seems to love nibbling all the plants, which is not good for him.
No.
Yeah.
Succulents are hard for me. I kill succulents. I think I overwater them. That's the problem.
Mm. They
It's
sort of.
funny. House plants. I'm starting to learn. I think that was one thing with the pandemic is I've been learning house plants and I've been learning how to propagate some of my house plants.
Mhm.
So some of my friends have given me their propagated house plants and then we've swapped. So like, whoa, that's really pushed pushed me out of my comfort zone because prior to 2 years ago, I had like two live plants in my house, and I magic made them live this long. So who knows? So kudos to you on the succulents. That I can't handle.
The other thing I like about propagating is if I give someone a plant and they're like, "Oh, I'm not really good at plants. It'll just die." And I'm like, "That's fine. I'll give you another one. Just it can just die and I'll just propagate another one out of one I've already got, and then I can just keep giving you the same plant over and over again."
And they're just going to keep feeling guilty for killing them.
But yeah, it's fine.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's like fresh
Yeah.
sourdough bread. Mm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everybody needs some greenery in the house.
I think so. I definitely love having the plants there. Even if I just, once a month talk to them and give them a bit of a water,
Yeah.
it's nice.
It's good. Good for you. Have you seen that study with the plants and the how you talk to them?
No, I did when I was in year 9 in secondary school. I did an experiment where I played music to them,
Yes.
and apparently they like Green Day, according to
Oh,
my experiment.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the same along lines of the premise of it. Is that
Mm.
the same plant, same conditions, same everything, and they're in a controlled area, and then they both have the sunlight, they both have water, but one is spoken very positively to, and the other is spoken very negatively to, and the one that was spoken negatively died.
That's so interesting. I'd love to learn why that happens.
There's a book. It's called "If Trees Could Talk." If trees could talk, or how trees communicate. I'll send you the link to the book, and that it
Mhm.
basically essentially explains.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I'll send it to you. I'll email it
Thank
to you.
you.
If you ever
Mm.
feel tickled or you want to have an interesting read, you can read it.
Mm. Maybe I'll read it to my plants
Oh, there you
in a
go.
positive tone of voice.
With Green Day in the background.
Yeah.
There you go.
So someone wants to know, what's the best way to store spices?
Ah. Okay, I'm going to give you my top 3 ways because there's not one best way. I would say one way is you can put them on a turntable. So a turntable is like a lazy Susan. And then you put them in a cupboard. What I like about that is that you're creating that back reach just by spinning it. So it's kind of like a spin to win, right? You just spin it, you find your garlic salt in an instant. That's my number one go-to. My second go-to is if you've got a smaller, slim drawer and you have the space in your kitchen, is to put them in a drawer and just have label facing up. You can put them in the actual bottles that you have, or you can, if you really want to go for it, you can do some pretty little jars with some nice labels. Pretty Little Designs is a company that makes labels, and they're based out of Australia, and they make some really nice, cute labels. So that would be my second go-to. My third solution is if you've got a pantry, or again, you could put it in a cupboard, is you could do a shelf riser. So it's like a 3-tiered system, and it's kind of like you can get them in acrylic or bamboo, you can get them in gray, you can get them in clear, you can get expandable ones, you can get smaller ones. But what you can do is you could put them in there, and then most kitchens have adjustable shelving. What the shelf riser does is that you're able to see all the labels of all of the spices. So then you've got them on all 3 levels. And then that way you can see them, you can grab and go. It's very visible. But then you're also using the depth of the cupboard with that solution as well. So those are my top 3 spice.
So you say you think put them into jars?
If you really want to be
or
that
boxes,
expert, want to go for it. Yeah, you can decant your spices. So you're basically putting them in like uniform, the same looking type jars. If you really wanted to go that route, it's not necessary to do it in order to maintain organization of your spices. But some people do. I do. Because that's what I do for a living.
Or do you suggest just keeping them in the bags that they come in?
Your spices don't come in containers?
Some of them come in like little glass jars, and some of them come in bags.
Yeah.
And I get the ones in bags.
Okay. So if you have the ones in bags, what you could do is you can get like a tiered tray. And then they've just got a small divider in the back, and it's just, not quite too big. But then that way you can pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could stack them in that way. And so then they're all stacked vertically. Ucopia has a really good brand. iDesign has a really good solution. You guys get iDesign in Australia. I'm not too sure if you get Ucopia. Ucopia has one where it's got little mini wheels on the bottom at the back.
Cool.
So it rolls.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's a nice little feature. So if you've got the bags, organize them in those. Or you can just straight up put them in a bin and label it spices and throw them in your pantry.
In a bin, like a box?
Yeah, like a plastic tote, or like a little bin container, like a little.
Okay. I thought you meant in the rubbish bin.
Oh, you guys we call that garbage.
Okay. I was like, put it in the bin. Oh, okay. Just throw them out.
That's garbage. Sorry. I've taught
Sorry.
a lot. No, that's okay. I've taught a lot of people in Australia that have joined my courses. So we've taught a lot of people in Australia or Ireland or England or Dubai and things like that. And then usually Canada and the United States is where the majority of our members are. But a lot of times, because we're teaching, it's predominantly us talking. So I don't get to hear your guys' lingo. So this is kind of nice. I'm learning. A bin is the trash.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to note.
I mean, I'm usually pretty good at knowing the different ones, but I was just a bit thrown there.
Sorry.
That's okay. Another question we've got is, and maybe you won't be able to answer this one, but like organizing your fridge and like rotating perishables. Is that something that you would know, or something that's a bit out of your reach?
Yeah. So we do organize a lot of our clients' fridges. And again, it depends on how you use it. If you do have 2 crisp drawers, like vegetable drawers, like the crisper drawers, as silly as this sounds, I recommend you organize it by color. So you do one all greens, and then one is every other type of vegetable. So you put your carrots, your turnips, your peppers, your onions, whatever it might be. If you put your onions in the fridge, some people do, some people don't. And then honestly, just keep it there, and then you've got it visible. So all of your vegetables are contained in one spot in your fridge. So you always know that they're there. And then that way you've got full visibility of them. And then, knock on wood, you should know what you've got in there, and then you won't have too many perishable items. I do recommend in fridges as well is to put a turntable. So again, that Lazy Susan, you can get
Hmm.
various sizes. So they usually run from 9-inch to a 22-inch. So in my fridge, I've got enough space that I have a 19-inch turntable, which sounds quite large. It is. It's quite large. But I have a 19-inch turntable, and it's on one of the top shelves in my fridge. And that's where things like hummus and pickles and olives and um, like a dill dip, and maybe you've got a leftover jar of spaghetti sauce or things like that, and then you put it in there, and then again you can spin it and you can rotate it, so you've got that visual of everything that's in your fridge. Because a lot of times, especially with fridges and pantries, things get tucked in the back corner, and that's where things go to die.
Mm.
That's where we forgot that we had a honey, and I went out and bought another honey. So there's many times where we are organizing, particularly kitchens, within the pantries and fridges, where we empty everything out, and our client will go, "Oh my gosh, like cups. I just bought muffin cups. I didn't even know I had muffin cups. That's where they were." Or, "Oh, there's a soy sauce. I didn't even know I had a soy sauce. I literally just bought a soy sauce last week. I thought I had one." It's because we're not creating those systems. So then things get hidden and you didn't know it was there. So a lot of times within a fridge, it's the exact same thing, right? We didn't know we had an extra jar of pickles. Maybe we didn't know we had that jar of olives. Or maybe you had some chives and they went bad, right? So it's things like that. So if you have a Lazy Susan or a turntable, you can spin it and you can see what you've got. So things don't get hidden at the back of the fridge where you have no idea what's back there.
Just with the veggie drawers, is
Yeah.
there a particular reason why you have them as two different colors, or is it just so you know exactly what's going on?
I just feel the majority of homes typically have more green vegetables than they do colored. And then again, when you're cooking, you're thinking, I want the broccoli, I want the zucchini, I want the carrots. And then that way it's categorized by the color. Then you know, okay, this is the green drawer and my zucchini is going to be in this drawer. So you're saving yourself time.
Okay.
My carrots are going to be in the other drawer because this is the other color drawer. So I know my carrots are in that drawer. So you're not digging one at the back of your fridge. You're not digging through two different crispers trying to find things. So then that way it's categorized. You know exactly where it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering if there was like some scientific reason, like the veggies stay softer if they're
Oh,
in, or the leafy veggies stay softer if they're all together or something, but just wondering that.
no. I mean, that would be interesting to look into.
Like how you're not supposed to keep what is it? Apples and bananas next to other fruits.
Yes.
So I was wondering if it was something like that.
No.
Mm.
I mean, if it is, I am not privy to that information. And then if there is, maybe disregard what I said. um, but no, I'm not. I don't think so. I know you can't grow certain vegetables beside each other.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, whether or not they're housed. Like if you put parsley beside your tomatoes will be sweeter.
Hmm.
But I did not know. No, I do not know in regards to storing. Oh, I feel like maybe I need to look into that now.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Maybe I'm just rotting all of my clients' food without even knowing it. Because I'm thinking from an organizational, functional standpoint.
Hmm.
Mm.
So my last question is from an audience member who is me. Um, we have a knife drawer,
Yes.
and but my partner never puts the knives in the knife drawer.
Yeah.
Is there is there a good reason to have a particular place for knife drawer for knives? Is that a normal thing, or is it okay just to keep some in a different area?
No. Do you like your knife drawer?
Yes,
Yes. Then keep your knife drawer. It's your
but he
kitchen.
doesn't like it.
Well, then that's more of a domestic dispute. And it's a matter of who wins. Um, there's a lot of homes that I go into where one spouse has a preference versus the other spouse, and it's just whoever ends up winning the vote of confidence, I guess, as to how you want it. So if you're very married to the knife drawer, and he is not, do you have a lot of countertop space?
No.
Bench space? No. So a knife block's not a smart solution. Okay, so let's not do that. Do you have a lot of backsplash space?
Not really. It's a very small kitchen.
Okay. Then stick with your knife drawer. And it's okay. I'll give you an example, Gabriella. So in my pantry, I have a granola bar bin, like tote, like not trash, like a container.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where all the granola bars go.
Mm-hmm.
My husband usually just throws the box of granola bars in that bin. Now,
Yep.
me being who I am and the profession that I do, and just my personality, is I like to take the granola bars out of the box because they take up less space, because that box takes up so much space. You got to think you usually got a good 30 to 40% of just empty box space. And then if I take all those granola bars out of the box, then I know visible what my inventory is. So I know if the kids are running out of granola bars. So I like to have the granola bars out of the box versus him. He thinks that's a tedious task.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, ain't nobody going to pay me enough money to take granola bars out of a box to put into a container. He's just like, so he just chucks the box. Like if we're emptying our groceries, like unloading the groceries is what I mean. He just puts the box of granola bars in there. Well, it's kind of one of those things, marriage, living with someone. It's, it's a pick your battles kind of thing. So I just follow behind him and I empty the granola bars out of the boxes. I recycle the boxes and I put the granola bars in the granola bar bin. So maybe that's just a pick your battle kind of
Mm-hmm.
moment with your spouse where he just doesn't like the knives, but that's where you like them. And you just put the knives back where that's where they belong.
Okay. That sounds like a good plan. That's what
Yeah.
I've been doing. I was just wondering if there was a better way to store the knives, I guess. Or if
No.
there's a best way.
Yeah. Most knives we either put on a magnetic block strip that goes on your backsplash in your kitchen. We put them in a knife block on top of the counter, or we put them in a block organizer within a drawer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A block organizer in a drawer, what's that?
Yeah. So it's usually they're typically bamboo or plastic. And so it's like a long, narrow, skinny organizer. And then it's got, I don't know how else to describe it. It's not foam, and some of them are cork, but
Mm-hmm.
it's perforated cork. So then you just put the blade of the knife in the cork, and then the blade of the knife or the handle of the knife just sits kind of in the remaining of the container. So
Okay.
then all the knives so then that way you can line them up vertically.
Mm.
I'll send you a photo.
Okay. Yeah. I've just got a little box and they
Yeah.
just go in there. And you just pray that you don't slice your hand open.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. So this
Mm.
prevents that, right? Because then you're putting blade down.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
doesn't dull the blade?
I don't know. It probably would just a smidge. It's cork.
Mm.
Do you
Better
have
than
yeah.
better than hurting yourself, I guess.
Better than, hurting yourself.
Mm.
And then it keeps
Okay.
them vertical, right? So a lot of times you
Mm.
can utilize the drawer in a little bit more of a functional space. So you're not using up
Mm.
as much space versus if you just put the knives in and you just lay them down,
Mm.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions from the audience and from me. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to talk to you, and I'll definitely be going through my kitchen this weekend and implementing many of the things that you've told me today.
Perfect. Good. You should send me some before and after photos.
If I remember to do that.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Good for you. Get her
Great.
done.
Thank you.
Have a great day or have a great evening.
I will. Yes, evening. Thank you so much. You have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
You've been listening to Room by Room, produced by the Home Organization Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes like this from across 10 life management perspectives can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and any other podcasting apps available on your smart devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating, sharing, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people to find it so we can grow and continue to bring you quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website, ho.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Gabriella Joustra, and thanks for tuning in.